There it is. We are live.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody, for joining virtually. I would like to call this meeting to order February 11th, 2005. This is our electronic school board regular meeting and our budget work session number 2. This school board meeting is going to be virtual tonight pursuant to the state of emergency declared by the governor due to the severe winter weather system and the school board policy BDD. So this meeting is open to the public virtually, and the board will be receiving public comment virtually as well. So we appreciate everybody tuning in, including some of our partners with our superintendent search firm, some of them who are tuning in with 80-degree weather. So no sympathy there. So we're going to go ahead and move to 1.02. We're going to do a roll call. Ms. Goodell?
Yes, Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Gould.
Here.
Ms. Henderson.
Here.
Ms. Murphy.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Sherwood.
Here.
Ms. Silverman.
Here.
And Ms. Tice.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goodell. And if we, Ms. Minson, if you don't mind presenting the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance, and if everybody could stand awkwardly on Zoom. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. You know, those acapellas when you had your solo, that was my thought right now. I was like, oh gosh, I better know all these words. So I think I did okay. So now we're going to move to 1.04, adoption of the agenda. Can I please have a motion? Ms. Henderson? I thought that was a hand raise. Thank you.
One moment, my computer's moving. Just decided I didn't like that anymore. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Murphy. All in favor say yes. With a head nod, all opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. All right, now we're going to go ahead and move on to public comments and requests in section 2.01. And in accordance with school board policy BDDH, the time for each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. However, those needing a reasonable accommodation or who need interpretation may have extended time. Additional written statements may be submitted to the clerk for dissemination to board members and for the record be disposition of requests. Ms. Goodell, do we have any public comments for tonight?
Yes, and we actually have a speaker, Mr. Jeff Jardine, who's waiting to speak now.
Thank you, Mr. Jardine. Go ahead. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Jardine. Can you all hear me okay?
Doing great. Thanks.
Great. I just wanted to thank you all for the ongoing discussion. And I was able to watch the video last week. I'm not able usually to attend the meetings, but I'm able to watch the summaries that are available on YouTube or read notes. And I'm really appreciative of the ongoing discussion about student technology use, cell phones, the engagement from teachers, the broader community, all the efforts that have gone into crafting a policy. So I want to submit a comment this evening in an attempt to encourage our board here to consider a little bit bolder cell phone ban on a ban on cell phones during the school day. So bell to bell. This we really have wonderful students, teachers, community leaders, all engaged on this topic. But my concern is that we're giving too much weight to the preferences of current students who actually follow national trends with respect to their ability to navigate the digital age. The current and proposed policies to limit cell phone access during class time may actually be less effective than it seems because students have shared, and I think the board is aware that it's a fairly common practice among students to, some students, to carry second burner phones that are turned in and then keep primary phones on their person, which obviously undermines the policy's effectiveness. If the policy were effective, studies have still shown that even the mere presence of a phone in the classroom reduces cognitive capacity and negatively impacts students' ability to focus and learn effectively. That a cell phone's proximity can distract and detract from educational outcomes suggests that our current policy does not fully address this challenge. As an editorial comment, I was thinking about how back during the COVID years, we were told to follow the science. And we did, I think the school system did an outstanding job following the science, which allowed our students to get back into school in advance of other nearby school systems. This current proposed policy does not follow the science. In addition to the proximity problem for nearby cell phones reducing student learning outcomes, studies also confirm that students who use cell phones in any way during school take fewer notes, they retain less information in class, they do worse on tests, and they often task switch, which results in a lower GPA. We've had a really wonderful community of families and students that are part of our schools, but again, our students are just as susceptible to the same distractions and screen challenges as high school students everywhere. The allure of cell phones and their impact on learning is not diminished because of rankings or demographics. School leaders are not the ones giving out cell phones to students, and we recognize that. But schools do have a significant opportunity to help students use cell phones in appropriate ways. Taking a quote from a recent researcher who said, quote, "Schools may not be responsible for the dumpster fire that phones and social media have ignited for students, but they are also one of the few institutions, besides the highly decentralized institution of the family, with the power to protect and enrich young people's social lives and healthy development."
That's your 3-minute warning.
Thanks for considering my perspective, and I appreciate all the work that you do.
Thank you, Mr. Jardine. Thanks for joining tonight and providing your comments. We do appreciate your opinion on this. Thank you, sir. Right. Ms. Goodell, do we have any other comments, written or in person?
Yes, we received actually 3. One was Mr. Jardine's submission, and then we received one from FCCEA on the supporting the policy on student use of personal electronic devices. And then we received another one from a parent on the IB Sports Exercise and Health Science Program.
Thank you, Ms. Goodell. We appreciate that. Okay, that concludes our public comments section. And now we're going to go ahead and move to a closed meeting. Dr. Noonan, thoughts on how long this might be for the public?
I would anticipate this is going to be a 10 to 15-minute closed session.
Okay, 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so for the public, the school board and Dr. Noonan and staff, we're going to be exiting, going to another location, a virtual location, but we will be back in 10 to 15 minutes. So if you want to stay here or just come back in 10 to 15 minutes, we'll see you then. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right,
Okay,
here we are.
here we are. Okay, we're going to go ahead and read into closed. 3.01. Can I please have a motion to read into closed?
All
Mr. Anderson?
right. Pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, I move that the board convene a closed meeting for the following purpose: to discuss or consider the identified subject matter, personnel under section 2.2-3711A1, in particular, staff appointments, staff reassignments, staff resignations, staff retirements, staff performance, staff change in position, staff separation, dependent care leave, long-term medical leave, child care leave, request and leave of absence, and student matters under section 2.2-37 or -311A2, in particular, non-resident student tuition. And legal matters under section 2.2-3711A8, in particular, consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by the public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Do I have a second? I'll second it. And then all in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Okay. All right, we're going to go into close now, and we'll be back soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just counting to make sure we have everybody back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like Bethany's still connecting. I'll see Amy. Is Amy? Oh, there's Amy. Okay. Is everybody? Nope. Where's Kathleen?
Yep. Yeah, good question.
I just let her in.
Okay.
We got to get Dr. Adams to change that Rutgers thing from on his screensaver, though. I don't know about that.
We'll make the request.
Duly noted.
All right, are we ready to everybody's back? Okay, great. Okay, thank you for being patient. We're back from closed meeting. I would like a motion to reconvene to open meeting 3.03. Ms. Silverman.
I move that the board reconvene to open meeting.
Thank you, Lori. Do I have a second? Thank you, Bethany. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? All right, now I'd like a motion for 4.01 to certify the closed meeting. Oh, thank you, Ann.
Whereas the Falls Church City School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.2-3711B of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Falls Church City School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies. And 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
Thank you very much, Ann. Appreciate that. Do I have a second? Thank you, Kathleen. Ms. Goodell, do you mind taking a roll?
Yes, Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Gould,
Yes.
Ms. Henderson,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Sherwood,
Yes.
Ms. Silverman,
Yes.
and Ms. Tice. Ms. Tice,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goodell. All right, now we're at, we've gone through, we're going to look at the consent agenda 5.04. I would ask that the board approve the consent agenda as presented. Can I just have a head nod? Great. All right, we're going to go ahead and pass the consent agenda. Thank you very much. All right, so that concludes some of the formality of the meeting. Now we can move to our business, action, and information. We have a couple great topics tonight. One, we're going to be talking about the HYA, our superintendent search firm that we have hired to help us with the process for selection of our next superintendent. We're going to start with that. Just to remind the public where we are in this process, HYA, Dr. Adams, Dr. Johnson, Ms. Adams, they've been working with the community. I think they've done well over 25 community engagement events, and they've collected a significant amount of data through surveys, through in-person, through virtual, different languages. So they're going to be presenting that work tonight for us. And the goal is to come up with a leadership profile so we can start to move to the next phase, which is going to be posting the application for applicants to apply to. So Dr. Adams, oh, there you are. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. We're excited tonight to present to you the leadership profile report, the results of the survey, and what is most important, the desired characteristics so that we can move out of the engagement phase into the true recruitment phase. I do want to say, though, even though we haven't formally advertised the position, it is posted and there is significant interest. And we think that's a great sign at this point in terms of where we are in the search process. Our focus tonight, Dr. Johnson's going to give an overview of the executive summary for the leadership report profile, which consists of your stakeholder input of perceptions and of both strengths and challenges, as well as the characteristics that you're looking for in the next superintendent. She'll also go into the survey results and focus in on some of the disaggregation with that. And then I'll jump in with just a little bit of a summary and then the desired characteristics. And it's really that piece that we need your input on so that we can move forward. So with that, Dr. Johnson, if you're ready, go ahead.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Dr. Adams. Good evening again, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'll jump into the leadership profile as mentioned by Dr. Adams. We did meet with 153 participants in the stakeholder engagement sessions, and I'll talk about the survey later, but we did have a great number, 826 completed the survey, and you should be very proud, 476 of those were the students. So I want to go into the strengths of the district. So I'm going to, while there are many strengths of Falls Church, I just want to lift some of those to the surface, some of those that were resounding, coming back time and time again in these stakeholder engagement sessions. And one of those points of pride was, of course, the IB program that spans pre-K through 12th grade, is one of eight in the nation, and that is definitely a feather in Falls Church cap. But also it's important to know another strength were the services provided to exceptional children. All of the resources, there were mention of an array of supports and resources for that particular population. So again, in the first paragraph, you can see those points of pride, the IB program, pre-K through 12, as well as the resources for exceptional children. Another point of pride for Falls Church that we heard quite a bit about was the level of parental and community engagement and how those two entities work cohesively to maintain a strong and robust relationship aimed at supporting Falls Church City Public Schools. The level of involvement from parents came through in most of the interviews that I conducted. And that was really significant in making sure that all of the resources that Falls Church currently has stays in place, and the level of support does not end when parents' children leave or graduate from Falls Church. Another mention was a level of personalization. I know we all know that in that 2.2 miles, it was mentioned how quaint and intimate it is. In the elementary grades, those students sometimes will matriculate all the way through together. And so not only do the students have that level of familiarity, but also the parents, the community members. So really engaged and really sets Falls Church apart. It is actually that atmosphere that many parents seek to come to Falls Church and enroll their students in the school district because of the small size, because of the IB program, due to the resources that are there for the exceptional children, and because of the strong community partnerships and the high level of parental engagement and that outstanding and spectacular new high school, of course. So all of those things were listed as strengths that we heard over and over again in the engagement sessions. If there are no questions about that, I'll move forward to some of the challenges that surfaced during our conversation. One of those challenges focused on student enrollment, and there was mention of the new developments that are coming to Falls Church and how that's going to expand the student enrollment and preparedness for the student enrollment. And to that point, Oak Street Elementary School, it was mentioned the need for renovation. So right now we have small or comfortable class sizes. However, with that influx of this new population and uptick on student enrollment, how is this going to impact class size? How will the district prepare and be ready for this new population of students? And to that point, while classes are quaint and intimate, if the classes grow, we're going to need additional teachers. So that was mentioned as one of the challenges, teacher retention. It was noticed that It's not a challenge to recruit, but really a challenge to keep the teachers in the district. And some of the factors mentioned to support that was about salary and how teachers can go to neighboring districts and make more money. Another piece was their ability to secure housing. It's difficult to find housing in Falls Church, so they can teach there, but the ability to reside in the community presented a challenge. And also, some of the teachers felt overwhelmed because of the size of the district, right? We said the size of the district is definitely a strength. However, on the flip side, the challenge came in because even though it's a small district, they're still expected to do all of the work that is required to move the school district forward. And lastly, one of the challenges, while Falls Church is very inclusive, undertones of racial microaggressions were noted during the engagement session. And so this is something that needs to be addressed. Otherwise, as time goes on, it only can fester and become exacerbated as children matriculate throughout the school district. So that disparity of demographics that are moving into Falls Church, along with some of the microaggressions and the need to retain those teachers, are some of the factors that will need to be addressed and were noted as challenges. So that's a summary of some of the strengths as well as the challenges in the district. I'll pause to see if there are any questions. If not, I'll go on to the stakeholder survey.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Feel free to speak up since we've got a tiled view. Feel free to speak up if you have any questions from the school board or comments, for Dr. Noonan as well. Questions? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. We'll keep going.
Okay, I'm going to just slide over the survey. Is that large enough? Can you guys see that okay? Is that better? Yeah, that's good. Okay. So we have 4 overarching themes. And as I mentioned, your largest group that participated in the survey were the students, and the second largest group were the parents, with 27% response rate from the parents. And so as a result, there are 4 large themes that we have. I want to call them themes so we can group them together during this conversation. We have our vision and values of teaching and learning, community engagement, and management. So some of those strengths, I want you to note that within those categories or those 4 themes, teaching and learning resonated as a strength as a result of the survey. Technology in the classroom and the infrastructure to support that technology, as well as well-rounded educational experience for all students. And I think you heard me mention that in the leadership profile. While we have the IB program, we also have great resources for those exceptional students as well. And then at the bottom here, you'll see some of the leadership profile characteristics that folks desire in a new superintendent. Fostering a positive professional climate of mutual trust and respect amongst faculty and staff. And you'll see that again as we go through the survey. Again, noted as a leadership attribute, looking for someone who can help you recruit and retain personnel throughout the district. Again, community engagement, transparent communication. So someone who has the ability to communicate and be transparent about that communication, and also someone that has that experience or ability to be sensitive to the needs of a diverse population, and someone who's grounded in best practices and research. So next on the screen, you'll see this image, and I know it may be slightly overwhelming, but it's actually quite fun. So I'm going to walk you through that. If you look at teaching and learning, and I mentioned earlier of how this was noted. So this is the state of the district. Where are we now? How are we doing? And this graphic is based on a scale 1, strongly disagree, up to 5, strongly agree. In this particular graphic, we have the results of agree and strongly agree. When the respondents responded to this or participated in the survey, you'll see teaching and learning. And I want you to note the blue dots here reflect the administrators. In this teaching and learning line here, almost every one of these groups rated this high, aside from the business community or business members, but they all rated this area high, doing really well in teaching and learning. So this category is, keep in mind, this graphic represents agree or strongly agree. So doing really well here. One of the lower scoring categories, none of these are horrible, by the way. These are great results. But one of the lower scoring categories was the community engagement. And if we take a look at the leadership profile, you'll see that matches up completely. When looking for a superintendent, teaching and learning is on the lower end because right now we feel like we're doing great in that area, right? And community engagement, a little bit more on the higher end because of course it was noted this is where we need to make some improvements. Okay, but again, really great results over the 50% bar for all of these. But if we're looking to really be granular about this and what can we work on and what type of superintendent we want to look for, this is a great visual to help you realize that. Now, earlier I had mentioned fostering that positive professional climate. In this particular graphic, all of the respondents had to select the 4 highest. And if we go down vertically, you'll see in the administrators, these were the categories with the blue tiles. These were their top 4. But if we look across the row, we'll see that every single one of these responders, this was their number 1 choice. This was a clean slate, clean sweep, as we should say, across the board. Students, administrators, certified staff, even community members all ranked this as their number 1 choice, fostering a positive professional climate. And this was ranked at 46% out of 826 respondents. So I'm going to just go over to the students a bit, just so I want to be sure that you understand the graphic. So students had the ability to select 4. Their top 4 was, of course, that great professional, trusting environment, and then understanding a diverse student population, and demonstrating those educational researches and best practices, providing a clear, compelling vision for the future. When I visited Falls Church, I had a couple of middle schoolers in my group, so they're looking forward to what's on the horizon. So this ranked, these were the rankings, the top 4 from your students, and likewise from your parents and from your community and business leaders. I'm just going to grab my note sheet because I circled some of these that I do want to bring it to your attention. So again, big pat on the back. This was the prompt. Please rate the overall quality of education in the division. Overall, 81%. And that was great from all of the categories that responded. This was the average, 81%. And these numbers look spectacular across the board. I'm going to go down to vision and values. The division is working to close achievement and opportunity gaps. I want you to see here that the administrators gave this 94%, right? But then if you look at the other groups, they're not really aligned. So this is something that can spark some really, really robust and great conversation regarding perception. So I wanted to note that. And if we look in the average, I'm going to go down to teaching and learning. This was the highest ranking one at 82%. Of all of these prompts, 82% technology is integrated in the classroom. And the lowest one across the board was 44%. Again, community engagement is coming to the surface, right? So the lowest one is 44%. And if you look at the numbers here, administrators, perhaps they're getting the communication at 83%, but the other groups ranked this extremely low. So again, some data points that are worthy of conversation as you move forward. And we're nearing the end here. So I wanted to mention the leadership profile item analysis. Again, you keep seeing this foster a positive professional climate of mutual trust. This was the highest one of attributes for a new superintendent. So that's at 46%. And then we have recruit and retention of effective personnel at 41. And third in this particular data graph is providing transparent communication. All themes that we're hearing throughout the presentation of the leadership profile as well as the stakeholder survey. And that concludes the leadership profile and the stakeholder survey. I'll pause for any questions before we move on to desired characteristics.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson, and appreciate the visual representation of all the data as well. I think that's helpful for us as well as the public understanding how this all came together. So it was very clear to understand. Thank you very much. Questions or comments from anyone on the Zoom about this?
I just wanted to say thank you for the robust data and analysis. It gives us a lot to think about, and I appreciate having the detail behind it.
Any other comments or questions for Dr. Johnson? Okay. And then I'm sure you will, Dr. Adams, but if you could talk about how this will be used in the leadership profile for me, that'd be great.
This information, as part of the engagement phase, is so important, not only for the desired characteristics, but we'll be using the specific comments that we received as we go through this to help develop questions for the candidates once they're selected by you, the board, for interviewing. So this information will be used beyond setting and designing the desired characteristics, which we'll discuss in just a minute. And then we'll also use this information along with specific comments from each of the stakeholder groups when we have a transition meeting once you've made a decision as to who the successor superintendent is. So the goals for the next year or two can be set between the board and the successor superintendent. So the engagement information is critically important to the success of getting the right fit, because there's some great leaders out there, but they have to be the right fit for Falls Church City Schools and the students and community that serve through the schools. So that's how we're going to be using this information as we move forward. And we do want, and we know that this is public information, so that we would expect that very shortly, perhaps as early as tomorrow, we'll have the executive summary up on the website, along with the survey that Dr. Johnson described in its entirety, as well as ultimately when you finish discussing the desired characteristics as we begin those in the next few minutes. Any questions on the process?
Ann?
Thank you. That is super helpful. That answered a lot of my questions, actually. But I did want to understand, and maybe I'm sort of getting ahead of ourselves here, but the desired characteristics, is that document, which I had looked at earlier, is that going to be what the job description, how it appears to candidates, or is this a working document? Or is there going to be more than what appears there?
Ultimately, this will be the baseline that we use for advertising and comparing. One of the things is, as we develop a matrix and a portfolio for each of the applicants, we look at the applicants that most closely resemble the desired characteristics. And that's how we begin to narrow the field. So this will be our guideline moving forward. Obviously, we have, from our notes, the specific information that was gathered along with the data analysis that we did for the district that'll be utilized. But this is important because it contains information from stakeholders across the board, beginning with what we believe are the most important, our students, and certainly our parents, our staff, and so that will all go into us using this as the baseline. Does that address your question? Thank you. Dr. Johnson, could you put up the desired characteristics, please, so that everyone watching can also see them? As you look at the desired characteristics, obviously there was input, as we've noted, from students, teachers, parents, staff across the board, community members, the town leadership or the city leadership. And from those, it was clear that we believe you're looking for a strong visionary partner. You're looking for a collaborative leader who has experience, successful experience, who's engaging and who's transparent. And then we looked at three specific buckets when, what are you looking for in an experienced leader? Well, there's 11 items identified. We're gonna go over all of them. There's 6 that jump out. And then a relationship builder, there's 7 of those skills. And obviously we'd like someone that has all of the skills, but we want to try to match leaders who most closely resemble and who have a majority or most of the skills. And then as you look at engagement in terms of innovative, transparent, in terms of communication skills. And there are 6 of those, and we'll target each of those as well as 2. So as we go over them, I'm going to highlight some and then paraphrase a few of the others. So an experienced leader. So we're talking about a visionary partner and collaborative leader who's experienced, engaging, and transparent, and who has experience, is focused first on student and staff well-being and places students at the center of every decision. These are not necessarily placed in order of priority in terms of how they came in, but in terms of overall number 1, this would be the overall number 1. A leader who's focused on student and staff well-being places students at the center of every decision. Certainly a person that has a leadership record of both authenticity and compassion in terms of how they lead. Someone who can demonstrate the ability to connect at all levels in what is not only currently a diverse community, a very complex community, but one that has some changing demographics and one that is continuing to grow within a very small geographic area, which changes the characteristic of this small town, small city into an even more metro area, and just the very unique characteristics you have. So that kind of experience and understanding we think is going to be important moving forward. Certainly someone who is confident, decisive in the decision-making process, but resilient, because sometimes things always don't go the way one plans. And what we did here is the importance of using data and research. So certainly someone who uses data to drive thoughtful decisions, the district or division goals, and the various initiatives. Someone who demonstrates the ability to navigate the challenges of those changing demographics, and thus the changes and the differences in student experiences and student needs as a result of that. Someone who can facilitate and motivate and engage stakeholders, because it is a very engaged community, and we recognize that. And the ability to work with that engaged community and bring them into the decision-making process we saw is very important to the work that we do in terms of recruitment. Certainly the understanding of fiscal responsibility and fiscal acumen, and the allocation of resources, and how important that is and how important that will be moving forward. Someone that will support high-performing teachers and the learning environment that encourages student engagement. And we thought it was important to make sure that the students are being prepared to function in real world circumstances. Someone that does build on the successes of the district and leverages those successes in both the planning and programming, and manages those resources in an effective way. And then someone who exhibits integrity, high level of emotional intelligence, and someone who holds others accountable and is accountable themselves. That's the bucket of the 11 characteristics that we saw come up most frequently in terms of an experienced leader from all stakeholder groups across the board. When we look at the next bucket, relationship builder, the 4 that stood out is a trust builder, trust gainer, a unifier, visible, present, and collaborative. Critically important. Also, because of the involvement of the community, parents in particular, seeks input prior to making decisions, communicates the rationale behind each decision, and then stands firm once a decision is made collectively and obviously in the partnership with the school board. And then maintains organizational accountability when making operational decisions and understands the value of stakeholder and community discourse as issues are discussed and as issues come forward. And then establishes an open and safe environment that fosters inclusion, diversity, and including the diversity of thought, which came up multiple times, and certainly a sense of belonging. One of the things we heard, so that every student felt that when they came to school, they were coming to school to play on a home field, their home field, as being very important. And then as we look at some of the other ones under this bucket, certainly the ability to partner and work very closely, not only with the governing body, the school board, but the city leaders as well, and the importance of that relationship. The last area of the 27 or so items, when you look at engagement, innovation, and transparency in terms of communication, the two that definitely stood out, and I'll go back and pick up the others, but seeks and sustains professional and collaborative relationships with board members based upon commonly agreed to goals as being very important to a continuing relationship for the district to continue to be successful as you have been, not only in the past, but to continue moving forward. And then understands the advantages of building collaborative relationships between the school division, the city, and all community stakeholders, especially recognizing that a majority of the community stakeholders do not have children in the schools. And then as we look at certainly the communication and how important that is in multiple forms, to communicate regularly, clearly, concisely, in ways that engages and values both your internal and external stakeholder input, as well as sometimes that stakeholder input that is underrepresented in terms of information and the opportunity to be part of the not only information but decision-making process that's utilized. Someone that creates a sense of community around a shared vision of excellence, and then someone who invests in the community by being visible, present, approachable, actively engaged in the division and in community events. As we then boil this down to the successful candidate will have, well, we believe someone that has demonstrated exemplary successful educational leadership and experience in a community or a school division with similar demographics, expectations, and needs. And then certainly who's had experience, someone in dealing with changing demographics and growth that then result and have an impact on learning and certainly teaching and the success of our students. And then obviously someone who's either eligible for or immediately eligible for the Virginia certificate that is needed from the DOE to hold the position. So they were the buckets that we came up with based on our review of the information that Dr. Johnson provided a synopsis of, along with all of the specifics that we heard from each of the stakeholder groups. So at this point, we'd really like to know what you, the school board, how you feel about that. Are there any areas that you believe need to be strengthened, changed, modified before we use this to move forward with the next phase recruitment? And this will also be then used as we get into the selection phase to select those candidates that most closely resemble the desired characteristics.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. And I appreciate going through this from a process question. Do applicants interpret the order of these bullets as what showed up the most in terms of, or is this just a collection of bullets of let's say for the communicates regularly versus understands the advantages of building collaborative?
It's a collection. The only one that I actually prioritized was the first one in terms of the focus on students around all decisions. We looked at it, and we do look at the number of times things come up in stakeholder meetings and in the survey. And we do use both our team going over these collectively, not only the team that's with you tonight, but our complete team. And then we do use our sister company, the Equa Group, with an analytics analysis, and we also will actually use some of the current IA tools as we go through this. But for the candidates, we explain to applicants, this is a picture, a broad picture, that we tell them that they need to supplement by doing their homework on the district as well.
Thank you. Other questions, feel free to speak up since we can only see a couple of you on the screen right now.
Chair,
Lori?
I have a question. Is this pretty similar to what other schools voice as their top priorities, or do we differ in any ways?
I think the difference here that we heard when you look at the top of the information that was gathered, what we heard over and over again was, we know, and there's high expectations in our district, and we're doing some great things. We don't want someone that's going to come up in and blow those things up but at the same time, we want someone that's innovative enough that's going to partner with you, the board, with the community, with your staff, and move to whatever that next level is. Not only to continue to maintain, because even maintaining, we recognize, is going to be a challenge as demographics change. And as enrollment increases, that has an impact, and the collective bargaining, which is new to Virginia, new to your district, that's all going to impact cost and future cost and the ability from the financial standpoint. So one of the things we did here that was a little more unique to your division was the fiscal acumen, and to be able to look at that. And what we did see is the partnership. One of the things that initially I was going to take some of the individual comments and highlight them, but one of the highlights that we did here were the partnerships and the desire to see those maintained. And in particular, we heard about the Educational Foundation and how important that is. So when we're asked by candidates to interpret some of what's in here, we share that kind of information. So I would say that a visionary partner was very specific, and that's why it's up there in the top. Yeah, we've heard visionary and so forth, but the fact that this is a partnership, that would be unique. And then I think the ability to navigate the changing demographics. And that changing demographics means that some students that are coming into the district or into the division are going to have different experiences than the students that are already there. So how do we address their needs? So that stood out in terms of, and sure, there are similarities then with other districts or other divisions, but they were the ones that stood out the most. Look, everyone in the country, every school division or district in the country is having challenges in staffing, especially with quality teachers. We saw that as a challenge here, but it's not only in filling positions. Here, it's filling positions with talented and keeping the high quality that you currently have and expanding on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you again, Dr. Adams. I realize that a lot of these are sort of supposed to be written in a general way, but I'm wondering, in the description of like an experienced leader or somebody who has experience in similar environments, we don't spell out specifically anywhere in this document the IB experience. Is that Is that something that's done elsewhere in the description of the district, or is that something we need to consider adding somewhere?
Board Member Sherwood, you're absolutely right. I went over this again today in preparation for tonight, and also then went over some of the specifics. What we did here across the board was have a knowledge or be familiar with, not necessarily the expertise. I mean, there are only 8 school divisions in America that go pre-K to 12 in IB, but there are many, many districts, especially at the middle school and high school level, that have IB programs. So we could probably we could strengthen, I think, by at least including familiarity or knowledge base with the NIB program, if that would make sense. And did you see anywhere specifically that you would strengthen that?
Yeah, thank you for that suggestion. I guess I'm just thinking under the experienced leader. I didn't have a specific place there, and you know, I'll if my colleagues disagree with me, I'm certainly open to that discussion. But it seemed to me that is an important part of our district and might well be reflected somewhere in one of these bullets.
Yeah, I think it would go pretty well in the "a successful candidate will" section. And so kind of whatever language you might think appropriate, obviously not necessarily having expertise in IB, but you know, having familiarity with, having experience with, and also having an appreciation for as well.
Would you suggest adding that under an experienced leader, or incorporating it?
I think he mentioned under "a successful candidate will" in this section here, Dr. Adams.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And it could be a separate bullet, but I think it could even be incorporated into that first bullet with similar demographics, expectations, and needs, and knowledge base in IB instruction and programming. So it could be separate or included in that first bullet.
Yeah, and I would make it stronger. I don't think it's for example, IB is a core characteristic of our school district. I think it's extremely important this person be more than passingly familiar and come in prepared to fully support the IB curriculum and approach.
So as opposed to familiarity, should I change that to experience?
Well, I take your point that experience may be difficult to come by at a high level given the number of IB districts, but I think it needs to be stronger than just awareness. And it needs to be stronger than just a general appreciation for instructional programs like IB. Should be for IB, which is the core of our pedagogy of our district.
Can I go ahead? I'm wondering if, I mean, I totally agree that I think this should be a priority, but I wonder if I'm a little wary of limiting our applicant pool too narrowly. I'm wondering if that's something that we can consider during the interview process, as opposed to putting experience baked into the criteria for applying. Because I certainly agree that it should be a priority, no doubt. I just, you know, all things being equal, I think we want to have, you know, a nice range of applicants to consider. And I don't have a sense of just how much that would limit our applicant pool if we have that if we have experience listed as a criteria.
Dr. Noonan, do you mind just giving your thoughts on this? If your colleagues applying for this and how this would be approached from an applicant perspective?
Yeah, I take Ms. Murphy's point, and also Ms. Henderson's point. I'm just wondering if a way around it would be have a deep understanding and appreciation for the International Baccalaureate program. And in some ways that then, gives every candidate an opportunity to do some research and homework on the International Baccalaureate program, and even perhaps go out and see some schools that are IB before they come in to the interview. And then I certainly wouldn't presume to suggest to you what questions you would ask in the interview, but if you have something in the asks for applicants to have a deep understanding and appreciation for the International Baccalaureate program, certainly would stand to reason that you would ask them a question about that, about how what they know. I don't know what the right question would be, but something about, tell us about your appreciation and understanding of the International Baccalaureate program.
Chair, I agree with that approach. IB and understanding it is something that can be learned, and I would like to give every applicant that opportunity to learn it. I'd rather, to me, what's more important on the applicant are the unlearned things, the things that that person cannot learn, and that's their other attributes that they would be bringing to the job. But this one is something that can be learned.
Yeah, I that characterized my point precisely, Lori. And I really like Dr. Noonan's approach. The nice thing about our IB program is it really is baked in, and we have staff, we have front office staff who are all who all favor it and who will keep that alive as if we end up choosing a candidate who is very enthusiastic, but may not have the same level of experience as someone like Dr. Noonan.
I like Dr. Noonan's language that he suggested, which is have a deep understanding of and appreciation for the International Baccalaureate program as a statement. I hear the concerns my colleagues raise. I also think a candidate who doesn't come in with an orientation to really understanding and supporting the IB curriculum and program that we have will not be a candidate we would choose and will not be successful. So I don't see a problem with having candidates who don't do that, not in our candidate pool.
I don't see a way that someone who's worth their salt would not come in with a deep understanding and appreciation for the International Baccalaureate if that's in the successful candidate will. And Dr. Adams and Dr. Johnson can probably speak to this, but I would expect any candidate to have done their really a significant amount of homework on our school division, and even gone out to see other school divisions that are IB if they didn't have that experience, and be able to speak to it and weave it through their answers as they're speaking to you about anything, whether it's discipline and attendance and budget and finance and collective bargaining and hiring and assessment and you name it. They should be able to weave the IB in, considering the way that it's written as is here, because it is such a significant piece of successful candidate will. Just my 2 cents. Thanks for asking me to weigh in, Dr. Gould.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Noonan. You've actually, I think, come up with a language that doesn't delimit the pool of applicants, but it certainly emphasizes the by saying deep understanding and appreciation. And you're absolutely right. Anybody that is worth their salt is going to do the research on the district, and they're going to weave this in to their responses to questions. But by taking out the word experience, it could be misinterpreted as experience pre-K to 12. And there just aren't that many opportunities in America for pre-K to 12, but there are a lot of opportunities to be familiar with, or someone that's worked with a program at the high school, middle school, or even just at the elementary level. Does the wording as it now appears, does that meet with a majority of the school board members?
Makes sense here.
I have a question on a different topic, if I can jump in. Dr. Adams, you used the term changing demographics a number of times. I think I've seen it in here, and I actually don't know what you mean by that. So I was hoping you could give some clarity on how y'all are using the term changing demographics.
Well, as we see, and from what we heard from stakeholders, with the amount of construction that's going on and what's occurred over the last 8 years in terms of that construction, even when you look at students that come from the number of students that come from single-family homes versus the number of students that now come from renting units that are much different in terms of environment coming in. And what we have seen in the information that was gathered, it's changing the needs and experience of students coming in, that students are coming into the district with different kinds of experiences than those students who have started and their sibling have started and finished their education from K-12 in the city schools. So that's what we're seeing, people that are coming in with different backgrounds, different kinds of experiences across the board. And some of that due to the changing housing environment. One figure we've heard is that almost 75% of your students now may be coming from rental properties versus single-family home properties, simply because of the density that is increasing. So that was the context that we heard a lot of the comments in.
So changing housing, yes, it may be lived experience. And actually, I'm curious, Dr. Noonan, because I know you've been very much in the weeds on the data of where students are coming from. I'm not sure necessarily equate, maybe it's because I think of the term demographics in a very specific context. So I think I'm struggling with that term still, even with the changing housing, it's still very high-end housing. Largely, it's expensive.
Sorry. Yeah. I think we could pull some data on that pretty quickly. If you looked at, just as an example, when I think about demographics, I think about students that are on free or reduced lunch. I think about students that are accessing special education programs, ESOL students, students of color, and the like, and how those have changed over time when I think about demographic data. And I'm not sure what the data would show. But I think we could pretty quickly pull that data to determine whether or not we are a more diverse community from a demographic standpoint, ethnically more diverse than we were before. I don't know that we're necessarily economically any more diverse than we were, because, as you indicated, Ms. Henderson, the starting prices on some of these new development, 1 and 2 bedroom condominiums are $850,000, $900,000. So I don't know that indicates that we're fundamentally changing economically, but we could pull the demographic data over the last 5 to 10 year period just to kind of see the changes. I don't want to torpedo. I don't want to torpedo the report at all. I just I do think those data are fairly easy to get our hands around. I do understand that the housing stock in the city is definitely changing. There's no doubt about it. We have many more rental units than we've had. We've got, I think there was an article in the Falls Church News Press not too long ago that said, more than 50% of the housing stock is in high density housing. But I don't know that to sort of to your point, has changed the demographics that much as it's just changed where kids are coming from.
Thank you. So I bring that up because it was the economic. I agree with Dr. Noonan. I'm not certain that there's an economic. I think the economic demographics are similar, but we are facing a period of growth, even if the economic demographics of the community stay similar. And Dr. Adams, you brought up something I think important in the specifics. When I asked that question, you said, well, part of it is you're not having families with kids that go all the way through. And we have a percentage of our population that doesn't do that anyway, because we have a high military and State Department and Foreign Service, families that come in and out. But at that distinction is important if you have families that are more families who are rotating in and out, or maybe it will not be here permanently. So that's, I guess, my question for y'all. I don't think it's something we can resolve kind of in this meeting, but for y'all would be I would appreciate having the changing demographics, not just sort of a lump term, because like Dr. Noonan, as someone who's worked in education, I think of that as free and reduced lunch and other things. It sort of signals that. I just want to make sure we're clear what that means in the context of our environment.
Thank you for the clarification in terms of context. At least from a perception standpoint, the term came up multiple times from stakeholders. And even the clarification in this discussion is helpful.
And I'd like to just kind of chime in with how many students are coming from apartments. It's about 62% of students coming from single family homes. And so while there will be more students coming from developments just because they're coming online, we are still a majority single family home students. So just kind of as a clarification, making sure that everybody's on the same page about that.
Thank you. Any other input on the desired characteristics? If you're comfortable with them, with the modification we've made, we would ask Chairperson Gold to get a consensus, and we'll get to work.
Okay.
Actually, can I ask one other question? Sorry. This is very dense. There's a lot of characteristics in here. It's a lot of things. And so I guess I'm curious how the volume of things relate, compares to other searches that you've done. Like, do we just have like a large number, a particularly large number that maybe it would make sense to condense, or is this pretty par for the course and what candidates are going to be expecting to see?
It's fairly par for the course. There may be a couple more lines in this than the average, but not by much. It's pretty much par for the course because it's a baseline that we use. We don't want to leave out anything, and I think we picked up on a couple of very important things we needed to be aware of through this discussion.
And if I can add, the more that a candidate is able to glean about your desires in their leadership and capacity to move your district forward, they welcome that. They will read this document not once, not twice, but multiple times over and over again, and present us with any questions that they may have about the document. But they actually appreciate knowing what you are looking for.
Thank you.
Just from a process perspective, I think there's a significant amount of student engagement. We're just going to credit our student rep, Charlotte Rice, for getting all of her peers to complete the survey. But it looked like over half of the respondents of the survey were from students, which is great. How do you balance the sheer, the number of respondents with the weight of the different measures or bullets that you provided? Is it equal across the stakeholder groups? Is it weighted differently if there are more respondents? How does that work?
We look at each group, but we compare back. Remember, we interviewed each of you, and we compare what you, the governing body who have the ultimate responsibility, what you said, what your students said, what your parents that responded said, what your teaching staff said, and all of that gets weighed in. Now, maybe there weren't as many in one category as another, and that's why we do temper it. In fact, the last paragraph in the piece that Dr. Johnson reported on says that this is not in terms of a scientific. Remember, it's perceptions. Now, when you take the perceptions and then compare them against the most important characteristics, that's where we do the balancing. But we're always comparing it against what did you, the governing body, say? What did the stakeholders in the community say? And we look at each of those groups independently and recognize when we do have and this was a fantastic for the, again, size of district, a fantastic representation from students, which is important because ultimately they're the ones that are receiving the teaching and learning. They're the ones that are the benefactors, and they're the ones that are going to be in the leadership roles tomorrow.
That's helpful. Thank you. Any other questions before I look for a head nod? How does for the leadership profile? Good. Okay. Everybody's thumbs up. Look at Amy, Jared. Great, Amy, and Bethany. Good. Jared's still with us. Thank you. All right. Well, so I think Dr. Adams, Dr. Johnson, I think we've got a path forward. We will work with Mr. Brett, our communications director, to get this posted tomorrow in the different places. We might ask for your advice on how to post it, but this is, yeah, really appreciate all the work and the engagement with our community. We did hear compliments about your engagement as well, and appreciated how you facilitated the conversations. And so compliments to you all about how you engage with many people in Falls Church. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. We'll let you fine folks go, and then we'll continue our meeting. And you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of it, but we'll just assume you have to tighten up the executive report. That's why you have to drop off. So yeah.
We've got to get to work.
There you go. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, that concludes 6.01, the HYA presentation. Now we're going to move on to 6.02. This is our second reading and adoption of the cell phone policy. To remind the public, this has been a conversation since August, but at our last meeting, we had a first reading, and so now we're going to have our final discussion and possible vote for a second reading and adoption of the cell phone policy. So I'm going to open this up for any comments, questions, thoughts you want to share as a group. Sure.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate my support for a bell-to-bell ban for all schools. I know that, there are others on the board who don't agree, and that's fine. I do think that of all the schools and all the districts that have actually gone to a bell-to-bell ban, there have been nearly universally positive experiences with that. It gets away from the distractions that students face with having a phone on themselves. And I understand that, there are difficulties with enforcing it. And from what I've read, it's just really a commitment to enforce it that actually makes it work. And just like any other policy that we have, I think having a more universal ban would actually make it easier to enforce. It would reduce the distractions. It actually would make students more independent, because I know that there are plenty of students who are contacted by their parents or who contact their parents during the day. And I think that's something, especially at the high school level, that we not necessarily want to discourage, but we want to encourage students to be independent learners. And I think having that constant connection to outside of the school is not conducive to that kind of development. And I understand that, people want to make sure that, kids know how to use their phones appropriately. I think they get plenty of practice outside of the school day. I think the school can be a place where they don't have to have the phones, where they are free to experience how it is to not have a phone. And I think that would be a huge benefit to this. And we should also consider that, there are our neighbors in Arlington and down in, I think, Prince William did pass a bell-to-bell with very, very, very tiny exceptions. And And so I think it's something that, yeah, I am happy that we will be circling back to this on an annual basis. So we'll see how things go. But I did just want to kind of reiterate my support for Bell to Bell.
Thank you, Jared. Kathleen?
Yes, thank you. I feel like I've shared all my reasons why I support this policy over time, so I won't reiterate all of them now. I did want to reiterate my thanks to everybody who participated in all of our community engagement sessions with students and teachers and parents. And I know this board really did some really great, thoughtful, careful, intentional work. So I wanted to thank everyone who was involved in that whole process. I also wanted to thank the FCCEA for submitting their letter of support for the policy. I think it's was a valuable piece of our process to engage with the teachers, and it's nice to know that that organization supports this policy.
Thank you, Kathleen. Lori?
I also support a bell-to-bell policy for all the reasons that Dr. Anderson stated. Just as our speaker said earlier this evening, I wish we would follow the science on this issue and follow the science from the Surgeon General, follow the science from the pediatricians, follow the science from mental health professionals. Those are the people that I'm listening to that's guiding me on this issue, since this is not my expertise. And ignoring them and going a different way, I don't think is what's best for our students.
Thank you, Lori. Kathleen?
I am supportive of this policy for now, and I will add the for now. One of the things that was really important to me was that our teachers and our staff in the buildings be able to have input and say on what they are going to be expected to enforce, what works for them, what's best for instruction. And so I've been listening to them, and I appreciate the FCCEA's letter. I am concerned about what the science says about even the presence of phones in schools. I think it's something we need to pay close attention to going forward. And I'm concerned about enforcement. And so I will be looking, I'll be supporting this policy, and I will be looking to see how enforcement goes of this and whether it is having the positive effects as a bell-to-bell ban has been proven to have.
Thank you, Bethany. Amy, was that? Or was not? No, okay. Anne?
Yeah, thank you. I haven't changed my mind for tonight. I agree with a lot of what Bethany said and Kathleen's, I'm sorry, Ms. Henderson, Ms. Tice said. I am particularly supportive of and want to respect the input of the folks who will be involved in the enforcement process. And I think giving us a full year opportunity to see how this policy goes is going to make a difference for me. Having more data in our schools about how effective it is. And so I am open to what the discussion will be in a year or 6 months from this policy. I don't know that we have a specific date at which we'll reconsider, but I appreciated everybody's input, and I think it's a hard decision. It's a difficult decision, but it's the decision that I think is worth making tonight. So thank you.
Amy?
Okay, I'll go ahead. I've supported this policy from the beginning, but I, like a lot of my colleagues, I think I was influenced by a lot of what I heard during the discussions that we had from all the different stakeholders on this issue. And so while it did not change my vote and my support for the policy, I am glad that we have this provision that allows us to revisit it next year. And so I think at that point, when we have more information, we'll have another really good discussion about it.
Thank you. And I think to add to the thoughts of this process, again, appreciate everybody. This topic came up pretty quickly in terms of over the summer, and we were all trying to figure out the school leaders, school board, the community. And I appreciate how we all are trying to be thoughtful about this. I do appreciate it was Ms. Murphy's suggestion to revisit this annually. I think we have to make sure we hold to that, because I don't think that I don't think that we know the answer yet. I think we have an implementation problem about how would we do this, and I think that's a problem for all school districts. I know Fairfax County is starting to do a pilot with how they're going to do an implementation at a low staff, taxing the staff at a low profile. So I've not registered an abstain vote before. I'm going to tonight. I'm not support. I would lean toward a bell to bell, but I also want to respect the fact that we don't know how to do that yet. And I think to Ms. Henderson's point, I think we got to continue to push on this and try to keep thinking about this. And even if our votes don't change, we have to, for the benefit of our students and the culture of our schools, we have to continue to put this at our forefront of our decision. Technology is going to change, and we need to change with it and think about this. So, does anybody have any other questions or comments for the group before Dr. Noonan?
Yeah, thank you. One, I just wanted to say thanks to the board for your quality deliberations. It's been great to sort of watch you all get out in the community and talk with folks, and also at the same time sort of hearing from the folks that are on the ground and working with us. I just wanted to let you know we've been finalizing a regulation. Actually, we've had 2 regulations, not knowing which direction you were going to go. But we've got a regulation that's ready to go that will probably be up and live on Monday. And we will make sure that all of our staff are aware of the new regulation. And in that regulation, it does sort of hew to all the conversations that we've had. So Ms. Henderson, you can be assured that during Mustang block, they can use them, but not during the other block of time. The intervention block, but also does put some, stable group sort of flipped out of my head there, but it also does sort of indicate that there's an expectation that there be consistency across the board, and we'll be working with our principals to make sure that that happens as well, because it's policies are only as good as the paper they're written on, unless they're implemented equitably across the system. So I have confidence that that will happen, and also appreciate the fact that you're going to revisit this at the right time. So just wanted to make sure you knew that we had a regulation that's going to go live probably Monday.
Thank you, Dr. Moon. Yeah, I think the doubling down of where we're all at as a community and where we've come to the conclusion is important for our school leaders and our staff to know. And like anything from a behavior standpoint, it's hard to change culture. We know that there is slippages in terms of enforcement. So I think the regulation and really the communication of all the work we all came to this, where we're going, is going to be important for enforcement. So I appreciate that. So procedural question, Ms. Minson. We have in there annually, how is the timing? It's not going to be prescribed, but how do we structure this so we are revisiting this to multiple points from the school board on this?
I think that's up to the school board members to bring it up during meetings as a topic that they want to discuss and add to work sessions. The discussion at the last meeting was anticipating that any changes to the policy would be made over the summertime with enough time to notice it, but certainly it's within the board's purview to make changes to the policy at any time and to bring it up for discussion at work session or for a first and second reading at any time.
Okay. Dr. Noonan, in terms of timing, do you have any recommendations of when we should roughly pencil this in for revisiting to make sure the schools could adapt, if there are any changes?
Yeah, I actually, it's hard because it's February, but I do think it needs to happen before the school year so that we can adjust school procedures if necessary. So I would suggest, if you want to revisit it in July, August, that might make sense. Or if you wanted to give it a full year and let it run for the rest of this year and then the following year, that's kind of up to you all how you want to do that.
Okay.
But I think it absolutely should happen during the summer so that good, strong communication can happen with the staff, with the parents, and with the students regarding the expectations.
Okay, great. Okay, Kathleen?
Yeah, I would even just be a little more aggressive with that timeline and suggest like at the end of the school year, which I know is an insane amount of insanely busy time of year, but it seems to me like if we want to have this conversation when people are paying attention and when we can, if we need to engage with the community and make sure that everyone's sort of paying attention, that perhaps even like before the end of the school year, not this year, it feels like we've done all this work. I don't know if anything would change in 2 or 3 months, but perhaps on an annual basis in towards the end of the school year, May-ish, just so that gives the community time to be still paying attention, and then the schools time to implement any changes over the summer. Maybe penciling, wherever we do line it up, penciling it into the document we have that tracks all of our annual, as we start planning out the school board meetings and work sessions. Seems like we've penciled that in as an annual piece.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen. Bethany?
I agree with Ms. Tice on the timing. I think we need to do it before the end of the school year. And if we're going to, not this year because we just did it. I agree with that. But if we're going to get parent and community and teacher input, I think that's really important. And I'd like it to be more ink than pencil, that it happens every year at the same time. So whether it's April, May, whatever, but I think that's really important.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions before we move to a vote? All right. Well, I know we're a lot of work. And this says, as we mentioned, we're going to continue to revisit this for this, the sake of our students and their well-being. So, Ms. Goodell, would you mind going ahead and do a roll call vote?
Sure. Does someone want to make the motion?
Oh,
Would
yeah.
you like- Thank you.
We need a motion for 6.02, second reading of adoption of cell phone policy. Kathleen?
I move that the school board approves second reading and adoption of policy JTEC, student use of personal electronic devices as presented.
Thank you, Kathleen. Do I have a second? Amy, second. Ms. Goodell, would you mind doing a roll call?
Yes, Mr. Anderson,
No.
Mr. Gould,
Jane?
Ms. Henderson,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Sherwood,
Yes.
Ms. Silverman,
No.
and Ms. Tice.
Yes.
For yes votes, the motion passes.
Thanks, Ms. Goodell, for taking the votes. Thanks, everybody. All right, let's go ahead and move on to 6.03, first reading of policies. We're going to turn this to Ms. Minson.
Good evening. Thank you. We have a number of policies for first reading this evening. The first is policy IF, curriculum development and adoption. This is a new policy for board review that would replace the current policy 6.12. And there are also two policies that the board had previously adopted that we are proposing adding references to policy 6.12. So those policies are IAA, notification of learning objectives, and IIAA, textbook selection, adoption, and purchase. The first policy, though, that I'd welcome questions or comments on is policy IF, curriculum development and adoption. Any questions regarding this policy? Hearing none, the next policy that would add a reference to policy 6.12 is policy IAA, notification of learning objectives. This policy was last adopted by the board in November of 2019, so it's certainly a timely one to bring since the board does try to review all policies every 5 years or so. Any questions on policy IAA? Hearing none, the next is the policy IIAA. This is textbook selection, adoption, and purchase. This one was likewise passed in 2019 in July, so now is a good time to review it. The only addition to the policy would be adding the cross-reference to policy 6.12. Any questions on policy IIAA? All right, then we'll dive right into the next one. The next policy for first reading is policy IGBA, programs for students with disabilities. Many thanks to Ms. Sharp and Ms. Prestipino for going through this policy with me. This policy was last adopted last year in June 2024, but there was a change in the Virginia Code requiring that school boards designate a faculty member to serve as a special education parent-family liaison. That's something that we've been doing since the beginning of this school year. It's up on our website. That is Ms. Prestipino and Ms. Sharp. So the proposed language at lines 36 through 45 are changes recommended by the VSBA based on that change in the law. And there are some other tweaks throughout the policy that you can notice in red font would be additions to the previous or current policy, and strike throughs are changes in the language. Happy to answer any questions regarding policy IGBA, programs for students with disabilities.
Just a simple question, like in example in line 25, we often refer to as parents of students. That would accommodate guardians, parents, any type of relationship with a student, correct? Is that a broad term that's defined?
It would, yes, and that's how the term is defined in the IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Yes, Ms. Tice?
This is purely just curiosity. I was just wondering what the thinking was behind changing in line 15 maintained to implemented. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just curious.
I think implemented is a stronger word. An IEP isn't something that is maintained. It's not something that's kept in the school. It's something that is applied on a daily basis to make sure the student gets the services that are outlined in the IEP, and that they're progress monitoring for each of those goals. So I'm not sure why it was maintained initially, but I do think implemented is the more appropriate word, knowing that we implement IEPs on a daily basis and in the classroom.
Got it. That makes sense, and I agree completely with wanting to make it stronger. I read it implemented as like started and not started and continued. So maybe that's the way I interpreted the word, but I agree with the idea behind the change.
Other questions regarding IGBA? All right, then the final policy for this evening is GEA-JOH. This is a policy that the board had previously adopted, so the only change, other than adding an Oxford comma at line 76 and an and at line 72, would be adding a cross-reference to the student policy 9.14. When this policy was last adopted by the board in 2021, that cross-reference was not included. So adding it here would then remove it after second reading from the student section and get us one policy closer to having all lettered policies. Any questions about policy GEA-JOH?
Amy, was that a hand raise or was that, I didn't see. No, okay. Any other? Okay.
All right, so those are the policies for first reading this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vinson. We appreciate it. It's great to see all the PDFs. That's great. As always, Ms. Murphy and Ms. Henderson, thank you for all your help on this. All right, we'll move on now to section 7.01, fiscal year 26 budget questions and answers.
We need to do the motion on the
I'm really
first
trying
reading.
to
Thank you.
be a little too efficient. No jokes. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and have a motion for the first reading of policies. Jared Anderson.
I move that the school board approve first reading of policies IF, curriculum development and adoption, IAA, notification of learning objectives, IIAA, textbook selection, adoption and purchase, IGBA, programs for students with disabilities, and GEA-JOH, acceptance of electronic signatures and records as presented.
Thank you, Jared. Do I have a second? Thank you, Lord. All in favor, say yes.
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 Any opposed?
Yes.
Any abstain? No. Okay. All right. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Vinson, again. All right. We'll now move to the FY26 budget, and we're going to turn it over to Ms. Michael. Actually, before we do that, sorry, I forgot. What we were going to do is before we do this, Ms. Michael, is we're going to ask the board if there was any overall reflections where we are. We're going to do this before and after the question and answer. So I just want to ask anyone on the board or on this group, does anybody have any thoughts or overall questions about how we're doing on this budget process before we dive into the questions? Any comments? Okay. All right.
Right.
We'll go
Can
ahead
can I
Yep.
mention something before we turn it over to Kristen?
Please.
Miss Michael, one of the things that we would have done tonight is we would have had a budget hearing, because it would have been our second budget hearing. But since we aren't in person, we did move the budget hearing. And Ms. Goodell, can you remind me when we moved the budget hearing? Is it to the work session on
It's
the
February 25th on the work session.
February 25th on the work session? So just for the community, if you have any comments about the budget and would like to make comments at the the budget hearing, that would happen at central office, FCCPS's central office at during our work session.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Newman. All right, Ms. Michael, we'll let you dive in.
Thank you. This evening, we have 5 new budget questions that were answered since the last meeting. So the first one, question number 43, was regarding PE staffing and the amount of time students receive in PE.
Any questions about or comments? Okay.
Okay. The next question is number 44, which had to do with teacher experience over time. This was a follow-up question to the question we provided last time, question number 13. I first want to point out when we answered the response to question 13, we had counted every single person, and we have some teachers that are split, so they were counted twice. So in all of the charts for this question, we have counted each teacher versus, or each position versus each person. So what we've provided is there's a 3-year look back in terms of where our teachers are distributed on the scale. So the 2 things that you'll notice that we've added since last time is on the right, we've included the percent of teachers that are at each step, and then we banded them in 5-year intervals. So we show the percentage of teachers in each of those 5-year bands. And then similarly, across the bottom for each year, we show how many people are in each lane and what percentage of teachers. So for example, in this case, when you look at the masters, if I roll back up, the masters and the masters plus 30 lane, you can see that, 84% of our teachers have a master's degree. And so you'll see all 3 years of that data in these question response.
Thank you. Can I ask a question? Maybe more talk out an observation, and then Michael, you can respond to it. It looks like, looking at this data, and thank you, I know I'd asked for, we're fairly consistent over the last 3 years in terms of both our teachers' education levels and the distribution across bands. I think the one area where I've seen a really, where there's a noticeable shift is in that 3rd and 4th step band, that 12 to 10 to 20 years, 11 to 20 years, I think if that's right. And that seems to have swung rather more than the others. And I'm curious if you know, is that because, and I'm having a hard time looking at all the spreadsheets side by side, the teachers are just moving, like we had a lot of teachers on the cusp that moved bands, or there was teacher turnover in that band, or what's causing that?
So the period years that you were asking about, were they related here to like 11, 12, 13, this kind of, and here? So that's a wonderful thing to point out. So thank you for that observation. When you look at, I'm going to roll back up, I'm sorry if I'm making people dizzy. This is the current year that shows the distribution of where staff are at. And then when we look at the previous year, you can see that some of them have a shade. And it's because during this year, these 3 steps weren't available on this salary lane. So prior to this current year, our bachelor's degree lane ended at step 12. Right? But now we have a step 13, 14, and 15 for the upper lanes. But for the bachelor's lanes, we now have a longevity 1, 2, and 3. And those were added as part of our collective bargaining agreement with certified staff. So in the past, we would have had a larger number of people that had been sitting at that top step of the salary scale for an extended period of time. But now they have 3 more steps that they were moving to. So you're right, the reason we end up, and you'll see the same thing at this master's degree level, we had 9 people sitting at step 17 or at the BA plus 30 lane. Because that was the top step on that lane, people over multiple years would have been stopped at that top step. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Thank you. Do you have any sense of, I know we talked a little bit about this last time, and Dr. Noonan, you had mentioned that those first 5 years is critical for a teacher vis-a-vis the profession. Do we have any sense of whether vis-a-vis our district, there is a particular band where we are, I'm going by the step bands, where we are losing more teachers, or is that more distributed? Or we see more teacher turnover, I should say, or is that more distributed?
Yeah, I don't, I haven't done that deep of an analysis. It's something we certainly can have a conversation with Amy Hall, our director of HR, about to see if she can begin to identify some of those spots. But we've been so focused on the first 5 years, because once people are with us for 5 years, they tend to stay. Happy to look deeper at it.
I'd be curious if it's not a massive lift, if it's something that's going to create a massive amount of work for staff. We don't need to do it right now.
Okay, appreciate that.
Other questions about the response to question 44?
Like a question, just more of an observation from our teaching staff. We have 6 times the national average of master's degree, and we have twice the doctorate degree candidates than the country's average. So that's impressive about the symbolism of our teachers are lifelong learners and students as well. So it's just, it's great.
Question 45 was regarding student athletic participation. This was a follow-up question from the previous meeting, looking at unduplicated counts and the most recently added sports.
Can I jump in here?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. So this was my question. I find both of these numbers extremely helpful when you think about when you're duplicating students. I think that's still a really relevant number, because you're thinking about how many different, tryout applications and the volume of work that happens over the course of a year regarding how many students we have, even if you're counting the same individual more than once. If they do 2 or 3 sports, that's 2 or 3 times the amount of work for our athletic and activities office. But I think unduplicating and looking at the number of specific individuals, I'm not sure that I probably have, so forgive me, but I don't remember seeing that that number so clearly before. And so it is also a really helpful number to think that, just slightly more than a third of our students participate in a VHSL sport or activity. So I just wanted to say thank you for the work of specifying both those lanes of data. Really interesting and helpful.
And
yeah, thank you. I also thought this was really helpful to understand and for me to be able to better sort of visualize. I just want to clarify or make sure I understand the participation, like F here, the participation of unique students, grades 8 through 12, and E, total unique student athletes. This is just about athletes, specifically the VHSL athletes, not participants in other activities, even VHSL sponsored ones, such as I think debate falls under that category, or I'm just trying to make sure I understand who is captured here. All activities or just some?
Yeah, thanks, Ms. Sherwood. Yeah, so these are our, I will 100% double check, but to my knowledge, these are athletic activities through VHSL, not the debate or theater sports, and it's not any of our clubs. But it's our athletics that is included in these counts.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions on this question number 45? Question 46 is also a follow-up question from the last meeting regarding how many of our substitutes are covered by collective bargaining. And currently we have one substitute who's meeting the 800-hour threshold. Any questions on 46? Question number 47 is regarding proposed pay raises in surrounding school divisions. So when we look at the surrounding school divisions that have already presented a proposed budget, that includes Alexandria, Fairfax, Loudoun, and Prince William. This chart shows what their overall budget increase was that's being presented, what was the requested increase in local funding, and then what was the average salary increase percentage included in that proposed budget. Arlington, who doesn't have data there, is presenting their proposed budget in March.
So thank you for sharing this information. You know, it strikes me as I look at this, I know we talked about last time that our average salary increase percentage is lower than some of our surrounding districts. We are also requesting a lower increase in local funding from our city than some of our surrounding districts as well. It's interesting to note in here that the other communities have collective bargaining agreements in place. I think this might have been in the original budget documents. I don't have it in front of me, but can you remind me, if you know, Dr. Noonan or Ms. Michael, whether our surrounding counties are doing the raises in the collective bargaining agreements, whatever that percentage determination is, that's coming into play in everything other than Loudoun? The way it's coming into play for our district?
So the other jurisdiction that doesn't have collective bargaining increase impacting their salary increases right now is Alexandria City. They had indicated that they currently are have their collective bargaining, but that it's not going to impact salaries until their fiscal year 27 budget.
But it is for Fairfax, Prince William, and Arlington.
Correct.
Yes, it is.
I think it's just interesting to note in light of one of the things that HYA talked about, which was that they had heard from the work that they did in the community about a challenge to teacher retention being our salaries compared to surrounding districts.
It's a reasonable question to ask. And I think one of the challenges that whomever comes in and this board will have to face is sort of keeping up. But right now, because of the salary work we did over the last 5 years, we're in a really good position. In fact, we are among the top 3 in most categories across the positions. But I do think, to your point, over the next 3, 4, 5 years, it's really going to have to be a focus. And I'm sure it will be with the union when they come back to the bargaining table.
It's great to hear that we're in a good place now, especially as I look at the increased, the higher requests for local funding from some of our surrounding districts than we are having to make in order to be at that place.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I would question sort of one of the comments that was made as part of the report tonight was that teachers could just leave our district and go to another and make more. I think the vast majority they can't. And that's through the good work of Kristen and her team and also the board members that supported the recent salary study that happened.
Any other questions on this question number 47? Then the last new budget question for this evening is question number 48, which was regarding the state and federal budgets and any update. So the first chart that we prepared has to do with the Virginia state budget. Currently, the Senate and the House proposals have both been presented. And what this chart does is it compares our proposed budget which was based on the governor's introduced budget, with both the Senate proposal and the House proposal. So at the top half of this chart, you can see for the school operating fund, the Senate proposal would increase funding to us by 275,000, as compared to the House budget would increase funding to us by 554,000. Below the chart are two subcharts that explain where is that funding coming from. So you can see in each case what is driving that change as compared to what was in the governor's proposed budget and our proposed budget as well. And the good news is that generally we end up falling when the budget is finally adopted by the state somewhere in between both of these. Right, so this increased funding from the state could eliminate the gap between what we requested from the general government and the top of the budget guidance. And then after the chart, the other component of this question is looking at the federal budget. So we're continuing to monitor all of the changes that are ongoing in the federal government. But due to the alignment of our fiscal year and the federal fiscal year, we're spending funding from the prior year budget. That practice is very common among school divisions in this region. So because of that, when you look at the timing, the federal funding that's in our FCCPS budget for FY26, it's based on the federal budget that was approved last year. So the things that are occurring in the federal government now are likely to impact our FY27 budget. And we'll continue to stay in close contact with regional peers, the state, through which our federal funding flows, as well as our federal partners. So any questions on the response to number 48?
Thank you. All right, that concludes the current submitted budget questions. I know we have a few more that were submitted today or late yesterday, so those will be included in the next budget session, and we'll also be going through the summer school changes, correct, Dr. Noonan? Okay, so that'll be also
That's correct.
a budget session as well. Any overall thoughts about the budget? Any questions for Ms. Michael or Dr. Noonan or team, or anything you want to share as we've concluded our second budget session, work session?
Should we all say goodbye to Ryan?
Yeah.
Bye, Ryan.
Bye, Ryan.
I let him stay up late. There's no school tomorrow.
Okay. All right. As always, Ms. Michael, Ms. Kopik, thank you very much for all your help on this and support on getting us and the public and the community engaged on this process. So greatly appreciated. So, all right. Now we'll move on to section 8.01. Let me make sure we didn't need a motion for 7.01. I'm looking at Ms. Minson. She did not yell at me this time. That's great. So 8.01, future agenda items. Dr. Noonan?
Yep, this is the time where if you have some that you would like to add, of course, we do have now scheduled the behavior question coming in to the April work session. You know, it's never too early to schedule a topic for a work session. So if you wanted us to put something on the agenda for April or May of next year to revisit the cell phone policy, we could certainly put that in a document that could go forward. But if there's anything else that you all want to dig in on between now and the end of the school year, let us know.
I'm thinking about Kathleen and Bethany's point about revisiting the cell phone, how it's going. I understand that we don't want to vote on it in 2 months or 3 months, but I do wonder if there's any way we could get an update. You know, since the starting point is this week to the end of the year, how it's going in terms of enforcement. And I don't know what that would look like. I don't know if that's a statistics on violations or it's you know, anecdotal evidence. I mean, obviously we would want something to be a bit more comprehensive, but could we slot something for June? Looks like the work session might be a little bit light about just how it's going or how it went.
Dustin, how do you feel? Thinking that the principals would be the ones that would be likely the most qualified to answer those questions.
Yeah, I think there's the possibility. possibility of providing some updates on what the year was like and any data we have on discipline infractions. So I think giving an update at that time is definitely possible.
Okay. And I would just suggest the high school only, unless any of my colleagues are interested in the middle school, or JTP or any other school.
If we have problems with cell phones at JTP, we're in bigger trouble than we thought.
Fair enough.
All right, so we'll focus on Meridian.
That'd be great. Okay, thank you. Any other agenda topics or things that that's not slated?
So Marty, you'll slot that in June?
Yes, I will.
Great. Okay. Dr. Noonan, back to you for the superintendent's report.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. The first big category is wellness, equity, and belonging. I hope that you saw that last week we relaunched the Handle with Care hashtag to make sure that any student that's experiencing difficulty will get the extra support that they need at school. We understand that all families can't offer all the details, but if your student is coming to school after a difficult night or a hard morning or a weekend, if you just send the teacher a message, an email or a Schoology message that says hashtag Handle with Care with no explanation needed, nothing needs to be said, we'll let the staff know that that student needs some extra support during that day. And then we also have a number of resources on our website under the FCCPS mental health support pages that can serve as resources to families as well, should they be experiencing something that perhaps they need some more support on. We had the 100th day of school, which is, of course, very exciting at JTP and at Mount Daniel. Those are big days, and students this year brought collections of 100 things. They created hearts using 100 pieces of confetti. They built structures using 100 cups. They decorated the 100th day crowns. They found out how many jumping jacks they could do in 100 seconds, and practiced counting to 100, skip counting by tens, which was great. So, excuse me, I don't know if you've ever been to Mount Daniel on the 100th day of school, but it's a very big deal. And some of our kids actually come dressed like 100-year-olds. And it's really it's very exciting. Matilda Jr. is next week. So invite you to not miss the Henderson production of Matilda Jr., February 20th through the 22nd. It begins at 7 p.m. Also would encourage you to take a look at the outstanding background that will be up on the screen. I might know the person who is responsible for the background imagery, who is helping support the Matilda Jr. show. Excuse me. The next is IB Infused Teaching and Learning. The MYP Community Service Project of 8th graders completed their projects, which included literacy, student handbooks for new students, farmers market support, a school walkout against violence, and more. And that was happening along the same time as our students are working on their PYP projects at the elementary schools. They're researching topics of interest and beginning to interview experts. The topics include homelessness, or the unhoused, which may be a better way to say it now, community building and environmental concerns. Each of us that are on this call actually have a group that we are supporting as mentors. Each of us on the staff that are on this call have a group that we mentor, and my group, I'm trying to say, is looking at accessibility to community theater. And just as an aside, the other night we had a chance to go tour behind the scenes the new Creative Cauldron, which will open on, well, it's supposed to open tomorrow night. I don't know that it's going to open tomorrow night with Steel Magnolias or not, but the Creative Cauldron looks beautiful on the inside. AI is something that this board has heard from some students about, one in particular. And I wanted to share that a small leadership group of division-wide AI pioneers has begun to meet and shape AI within FCCPS. They are the early adopters and have been using AI in a variety of ways. Their insights and contributions will be instrumental in establishing best practices and guiding districts' use of AI for a variety of purposes. The best part about this AI cohort in my mind is it's a combination. It's sort of that democratic process of learning It's a combination of both students and adults are participating in this group, including the student that came to speak to you all about AI previously. So be on the lookout for some information coming forward at some point around practices guiding the district's use of AI. And then the last update I have is around two really extraordinary educators. The first is Dr. Ray Ruor, that you all are familiar with, who teaches technology, design, engineering, energy, and sustainability at Meridian and at Henderson. And also, not too long ago, retiree, Dr. Peter Mecca, who retired from the old George Mason High School, the first year I was here about 8 years ago. And the two of them presented together at the 21st Century International Conference on Environmental, Cultural, Economic, and Social Sustainability in Miami. Doctors Ruor and Mecca presented their work on STEM environments and secondary education sustainability programs, and it was a case study on the application of agro-lab frameworks. It sounds very exciting. And it was for them. And it highlighted the successful integration of hands-on project-based learning experiences that we have around sustainable education at our middle and high school. And our program encompasses a multitude of things that are innovative components, including aquatic education and vivarium projects, outdoor gardens, living labs, and initiatives associated with that. Student-led sustainability projects to combine classroom instruction with hands-on experience, and an integration with variety of educational standards and the UN Sustainability Development Goals. And there are 16 of those that have been incorporated through the curriculum in a variety of different ways. So really proud of those two folks for representing us in Falls Church City Public Schools so well, as they always do. And that ends my comments for this evening. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Noonan. Is there any follow-up or any questions for his report before we jump into the school board and student liaison? All right, let's see. Ms. Sherwood. I'm just going to go on my order of tiles. Ms. Sherwood, you are first.
Great, thank you. I went to the ESOL Advisory Committee meeting last night. There were a few topics that were the main points of conversation. One was that group's interest in what revisions to summer school will look like. So they had some questions that I think overlap with the questions that you will be addressing at the work session in a couple of weeks. There was also some discussion about, they were asked to review the school board's policy on family engagement and give some feedback on that. So they took a deep dive into that, and I think we'll be providing some feedback through Ms. Prestipino, who was there as the staff liaison last night. And they also discussed other ways to enhance community outreach and support, and particularly noted a need for back to school nights at every school building for ESOL families. And I also heard from the Choral Boosters. Their Broadway Desserts performance a couple weeks ago, or two performances, were really successful. A lot of great songs and a lot of great engagement from the community. And I know they have a choral camp, a half-day choral camp coming up on March 1st for elementary students. So keep an eye out for registration for that. It's a fun way for students to interact with high school choral counselors and to get involved in singing and learning a little bit more about what course is all about. And those are my updates. Thanks.
Thanks, Ms. Sherwood. Vice Chair Tice, you're next.
We got to be on our toes here since we don't know who you're going to call. Quiet update from me. The only thing I have to share is that Chair Gould and I did host office hours last night. It was a particularly quiet one. We had one parent come and share some concerns about instruction in one department at the high school, and we'll be sure to pass those concerns on to Dr. Noonan and his team. And that was it.
Nice. Ms. Henderson.
The BIE, rather than holding its regular meeting, participated, 'cause timing was very convenient, thank you, Ms. Michael, participated in a focus group with HYA. The PTAs met with Dr. Noonan to learn about the budget last week, 2 weeks ago now, I think. So it's been a fairly quiet week on quiet period on my front as well.
Great. Thanks, Ms. Anderson. Next up, Mr. Anderson.
So the Advanced Academics Committee met last month and they discussed the ongoing interest in the twice exceptional students and kind of making sure that those students with IEPs are also getting as much identification as the kind of general population. They received a report from Mr. Pickering and Ms. Deal at the middle school on advanced academics at MEH. And I think everyone was just kind of interested to hear how that kind of goes through. And I think especially for those elementary parents who are there and their kids are moving up, it's a slightly different way of, or just a different schedule of doing things as much of middle school is from elementary school. There was discussion of their budget request, and with noting that there's been an increase in the number of identified students. And those are kind of the highlights. The Rec and Parks board will meet maybe tomorrow night at the Fellows property. I have my doubts if that will go through. But Danny has not canceled that just yet. But if anybody is interested and it has not been canceled, then put on your snow boots and come have a tour.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. And then the last three in alphabetical order, Amy, Ms. Murphy.
Last night, I attended the Daycare Advisory Board meeting, and there was a lot of discussion about, unfortunately, they've been waitlisting some families whose parents have had to make changes to their care because they're returning to the office due to the changes in the federal government. So I think what they reported is that they've seen an uptick in applications for Wednesday care, which is, something that Wednesday only care is something that we don't do. Mount Daniel is currently on a wait list and they're at capacity. Oak Street is full. They have a wait list for morning, and they are still able to work with some families for afternoon care. But they are doing the best they can to make creative accommodations for families as much as they can. On a happier note, they voted on the current fee structure. There was a 3% increase since last year. And the reason for that is 6 of the staff are moving from 10 to 12 months from 10 to 12 month employees because they agreed to do summer camps. And so that adds benefits for these particular employees. Another reason that was cited was the increased cost for food and supplies for the additional kids. And then also there was a small salary increase. So this 3% increase is commensurate with years in the past. It's really no different. So there was a unanimous vote to approve.
Ms. Rice.
Seniors have finished theory of knowledge, and juniors are beginning core components of the IB diploma, such as CAS and the extended essay. The theater department is hard at work as they begin reading through and rehearsing A Midsummer Night's Dream. And other than that, most students have fallen into a routine as we begin the second semester.
Ms. Rice. All right. And finally, Ms. Silverman.
I attended Health and Wellness a couple weeks ago, and they talked about the possibility of coming to the school board to see if there was an interest in forming a technology advisory committee. So that is something I know the school board will be taking a look at. Additionally, we broke out into groups, and I joined the group where we reviewed policies that had to do with health and wellness. And it was great because we actually had a couple people in the medical field reviewing health and wellness policy. So that was really interesting. And I know that I believe those were then turned in. Hopefully, Ms. Minson has a copy of those suggestions.
Thanks, Ms. Sullivan. I did actually forget to include myself. As Ms. Tice mentioned, we went to office hours last night, but everything I have is coming up. We have a SEEK meeting next week. I think Jared and I are going to attend and join Ms. Michael and team. And then Dr. Dean and I are going to a big annual Falls Church Education Foundation, the annual meeting, I think next Saturday. So we'll be doing that. So looking forward to that. So we're out and about. All right. Thank you, everybody, for all of your participation and engagement with all the activities. It's always helpful. Now we're going to move on to approval of minutes. We have a number of minutes that Ms. Cadell has been hard at work in getting those. Greatly appreciate Ms. Cadell on all the work on this. It's always impressive to see 2025, you know, in the minutes. That's great. So thank you, Ms. Cadell. We're looking for unanimous consent on this for the minutes for December 2nd, 2024, December 6th, 2024, January 14th, 2025, and January 28th, 2025 as presented. Unanimous consent? Great. All right. And then we have our two materials for board review, the FCCPS enrollment and the monthly budget monitoring report. We typically just let you review these on your own, but I do want to just ask Ms. Michael, I think this is a question, or Dr. Noonan, the enrollment, we want to kind of track this, especially for budgetary reasons. Anything we should know about the FCCPS enrollment or trends that you're seeing?
Just that we're continuing to enroll kids. What we're trying to do is get a handle a little bit more on where students are coming from. And so those are some questions that we've been beginning to ask our staff as they're enrolling, but I'll continue each week to put in the numbers as I did last Friday so that you could see the delta from the week before. So we grew by 3 students last week. So they're still coming.
Okay. And I know there was a number of discussions around whether it's embassy closures or the USAID impact of students coming back. Do we capture the reason for why they come back here, or just kind of where they're moving from?
Yeah, no, typically when a student moves in, we do capture the reason. And part of the reason they may or may not give us the reason, but we have to send a request for records from their prior school. And so that's always an opportunity for us to get a better sense of where students are coming from. So that's sort of an added layer that we hope to collect in the coming weeks so that we can sort of clearly identify where kids are coming from. But we are, you know, I wouldn't say nervous, but I do think, you know, with there's no other school division in the country that's as sensitive to world happenings than Falls Church City Public Schools. And I do think that with the shifts in USAID and State Department, we do know that we've gotten a message from the State Department to expect some kids in Falls Church. And also with things that are happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo right now. We understand that families have been told they need to leave with nothing more than a backpack on their back. And so we are monitoring that closely. We have not seen a significant impact yet. I say we haven't seen a significant impact yet. 3 kids in February is an unusual event for a school system our size. So we'll continue to monitor it.
Okay, thanks. Any questions about the enrollment report or the monthly budget monitoring report? Sure.
Yeah, if I may, Chair Gould, Dr. Noonan, I was looking at just the growth in the last month, I think from the end of December to the end of January, and that to me was pretty striking. It was about 28 students, I believe. And I was just curious if that, I realize it's the end of a calendar year, so perhaps that's a pattern that you see every year, but I was just wondering if that was different this year, if this is like a significant amount of growth at this time.
It feels like more to me. And so it is something that we are, again, kind of continuing to monitor. But we will be over our projection for sure for this year. When we came through with the budget the first time, we told you our projection was 85 last year to this year. and we were at 82, I think, and I think now we're beyond that projection. So some of the things that we worried about that were domestic and really city-centric, and the growth here is going to be potentially exacerbated by some of the things that are happening around the world.
Any other questions, comments? Okay.
I would say this, I'll just put it out there. The positions that we have in the budget to deal with this growth are really important. And I just would ask that we all continue to work hard with our buddies on the city council to help them understand the importance of maintaining the budget that we have, or that will be requested when Chair Gould goes to the board, because any reduction in our budget is going to negatively impact the schools in a way that could be disproportionate, considering the growth that we are experiencing.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for the enrollment and budget monitoring report. With that, we're going to go ahead and move to adjourn. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Stay warm.
Thanks.